check. Lav mic check. Lav mic. Check 1 1. Check check check. Lav mic check. This is the lav mic. Check check. Lav mic check. Check, check, lav mic. Still think the jam seems to go down a bit. Just a bit. It'll be a little quiet here for us jam-wise, but that's okay. We're also, I don't know. I think the sun is setting just a bit later in the day. I see we got a couple of tuned in to YouTube. Those who are waiting on standby. We will get started at 6 p.m. Just a few minutes. Find a comfortable place to start. See a place in your house, maybe. Maybe it's in your bedroom, your living room, or your backyard. This class that we're going to do today will be done standing, sitting, lying down. There's many ways to modify it. This is just like the pre-playlist I put on. I have an official playlist for the class. I can actually start now. Check, check, check. Lav mic.
Check.
Yeah.
Hello. So we are currently live on Instagram as well as YouTube. I have just gone live on Instagram, so we're going to wait a little bit for folks to tune in. Folks that are tuning in on Instagram, I'm speaking into this mic because the YouTube link has better audio and you might get a clearer picture of our directives. So if you are on Instagram right now and would like to tune into the YouTube link, you can go to slowdanger_, which is Taylor's Instagram, and click the link in his bio. That will have a direct feed of the sound that we're listening to, as well as the mic that I will be speaking into and the lav that Taylor is wearing. We just want to take this moment to thank folks that are here with us, that will be joining us in this practice, and also to tell you that this practice is made to be an open level practice, and it's made to provide you with kind of an outline or a container for you to insert your own practice, to take anything that we've said and move it through your own lens. This is really just an invitation to feel your body, to check in with your senses, and to get a little groovy and sweaty, because that is something that I have really been needing in this moment of quarantine, in this moment of coming into solace. So really just take this for you. You can listen and not watch. You can watch and listen. You can watch and listen to your own playlist. It's totally up to you. But again, the better audio feed will be on our YouTube link, which is on slowdanger_'s link in bio. And if you would like, we really appreciate the donations that we've received. If you have the means, throw a couple bucks into our Venmo at slowdanger, or our PayPal, paypal.me/slowdanger, or there is a tax-deductible donation link in my bio. But without further ado, we're just going to get started. This is a process. I'm just going to be real. This virtual teaching is a real transition for Taylor and myself. We really feed off of the people that we gather in space and that are practicing with us. So we're doing the best that we can to transition into this virtual format where we can't see you, but we're extending our energy to hopefully feel you. We're hoping that we're able to connect via this virtual interface. Again, YouTube link in Taylor, Slow Danger's Instagram, and really just take this for what you need. And we're so excited to be here with you.
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone on YouTube can hear me with my lav mic. I have the chat open just in case not, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, like Anna has mentioned, this is a new platform for us, so I really appreciate everybody's patience as we navigate what our pedagogy looks like in this virtual world. So to start, let's find a place where we can settle into our posturing, into our form, our carriage. That might be lying down, that might be a kneel or stance, somewhere where we can actively rest and just prepare ourselves for a shared movement practice. I like to veil my eyes in this place or close them. You can do the same if you'd like. And just relaxing into the weight of our body, noticing our breath. We don't have to change our breath at all, but let's just notice it. With each inhale, follow that breath as your lungs inflate, and with each exhale, follow that breath out. Each time, sinking a little more and more into the weight of your body. And let's imagine now that there's a bright light shining on the front of our body, creating pockets of shadow, patches of skin that are illuminated by that bright light, like a lighthouse shining out over a vast sea. Now let's imagine that that light is moving to the right side of our body, creating now new shadows. New bony landmarks and patches of skin become illuminated. Our body like a mountain range, creating peaks and valleys, shadow and light. Let's imagine now that that light travels and illuminates the back of our form. A bright, warm light colliding into our skin. Let's envision now that that light travels to the left side of our body, feeling that warm, almost like a thick light. Now let's see that light travel over top of us, shining down on us like a bright spotlight. Now let's imagine that that light oscillates and moves, and now it shines underneath us like a portal to the center of the earth, opening up. Now let's turn all the switches on those lights, being illuminated from every side, every angle that was mentioned. Let's imagine that that light has a bit of weight, or can be like a force on our body. This means that it might prompt a very subtle movement. This might look like a sway or a subtle oscillation of our torso or pelvis. This might be a small vibration or a small opening and closing of a part. But let's now just invite subtle movement into our body. With each passing moment, ushering our bony landmarks and our patches of skin into the atmosphere around us with this subtle movement. Almost like that light that we started is an atmosphere around us that we can feel on our skin, that we can carve through, that we can move around, feeling it pass through our fingers, passing through our nose as we inhale. We can taste the light, we can feel the temperature of it on our skin. This allows to awaken the skin senses, entry point to our body, not using a mirror and our ocular to distinguish whether our movement is interesting or good or bad, but just moving through sensation. Let's continue to find these subtle movements. I like to think of them as small folds and unfolds, micro rotations, small openings and closings of the hands. Just getting to know our range for this session. Maybe you're working in a tiny space and that affects your range. Maybe you have a larger space you're working in. Neither one is better than the other. Just feeling our range of motion, our edges, our actual edges of the space we're in, and also the edges of our form. Listening to those kinesthetic voices, that voice our body has, telling us what feels nice, what doesn't feel nice. I'm continuing to think of that light like a thick atmosphere that I can move around, coating my skin and my clothing and my garment. Let's be with our garments. Let's feel our garments on our skin. Let's feel our hairs, our breath.
So you start to notice the temperature of your skin, the temperature of the space, maybe the varying temperatures in the space, and the texture of your clothes, or the texture of the floor, or the texture of the wall. Just starting to bring a little kind of loose lather on the skin. We've been doing this so much lately, so just extending this to other parts of our body. Just starting to use our own self-touch to build a picture in our brain of the outer layer of skin. So this is like a very soft touch, a very soft kind of brushing on the body, making sure to get the back, the front, in between the fingers, behind the ears, under the solar plexus, down the legs, behind the knee, under the foot, behind the heel, on the shins, and just spending a little bit of time now on the feet. You can bend your knees if a forward fold is difficult, but just spending a bit of time detailing the edge of the foot, detailing the tip of the toes, detailing the arch. And from that detailing, we're just going to draw a line up our inner thigh, connecting in the front of our hips to our belly button, and drawing back down the inner thigh. Imagining that this light now is kind of like a beam, or like that shiny that you have on Instagram when you draw. How you can draw these little lines on your body, drawing them up now the outer edge, through the knee, out the hip, up the side of the ribs, up the top of the head. And taking a moment to just stop at the top and find a little circle in the top of the head. From that circle, we're just going to grow a soft roll of our neck. Redirecting when you want, taking as much time as you need. For me right now, it's about oiling up the joints, but for you, it might be about finding weight in the head. It might be about breathing into the neck, breathing into the parts of our body that have been in anxiety and distress. Letting this kind of churning in the joint space grow into other places. So growing this kind of circular churning down the spine, maybe in the shoulder, maybe in the wrists, in the fingers and the ankles. Feeling it travel through the body. Now working from the inside out. Feeling our joint spaces as these little hollows. These little locks that we can unlock with our motion, with our circularity. Continuing this. Starting to put a lot of emphasis on the rib cage. Feeling like the rib cage now is thickening, like it's inside a tub of butter. Thickening that rib cage, feeling the breath thicken. Feeling how we now really need to focus on inhaling and exhaling against this thick, viscous substance.
I'm reminded of that atmosphere that we started with, imagining still that thickness around our form. Not that it produces tension and muscularity, but a sense of resistance, almost like our bones are trying to push through our muscles, or that our muscles are trying to softly, gently hug our bones in this thicker atmosphere.
Really enjoying a little bit of effort in this, maybe thickening even more. Maybe enjoying the fact that you really need to focus on your breath now. It's the most important time to focus on your breath when there's tension, when there's something pushing against you. Letting this thickness grow into the pelvis and feeling how that spreads into the legs and the feet. Spreading this thickness all throughout your body, pushing against more butter, more coconut oil, pushing against a substance that also gives way.
Let's allow this thick atmosphere, this thick oil, this thick butter that we're moving through to get even a little thicker. Almost like it's becoming more difficult to be in motion because of that thickness.
Letting it also thicken around your face, and your jaw, and your lips, and the back of your head. Thickening against the back of you, falling into the back space a little bit in this. I'm finding a deeper bend in the knees now, in this thick, buttery, viscous substance.
Churn in the butter.
And deepening a little bit more into the legs.
We can invite a sense of increase in effort and rigor here if we like, in those deep bends of the legs. If it feels okay for you, if it feels good, like it'll serve you, test that effort a bit. Feel a little rigor. Let the heat of the body get a little higher in temperature. Maybe we can even get a little lower.
Even lower. Remembering the ceiling that we had in the last class. The ceiling's kind of dropping underneath us. And we can kind of navigate underneath that ceiling. But we can't go any higher right now. When you start to feel a burning in your body, thinking about how you can send that tension out through the soles of the feet. Even lower now.
Letting that ceiling drop even more.
Remembering that thickness, but letting it kind of liquefy a little bit. Feeling the thickness mostly now in how you push into the floor with your feet or with other parts of your body. Letting the thickness kind of liquefy in the parts closer.
Stay low and thick for just a bit longer. Finding subtle movement, if you can, in those low and more rigorous places. Those low, deep knee bends, can we still ignite some subtlety in the pelvis and chest as far as motion? Let's stay low for another 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6,
5. Softening and feeling
4,
that tension pushing out through the feet. 3, 2, 1. And let's just pop back up.
like you're on an elevator.
And just find a little shake.
Finding a little quake or even a little jig, boot, scoot, boogie in the legs here. You might hear some ruffles of mics from Anna and I because we just can't fight the jig. But let's find a little bit of, almost like we're antsy in the pantsy. We can't.
Almost like we're trying to tap dance. Maybe we don't know how. Maybe we do.
Even if you're lying down or you're in a sitting posture still because of the space you're in, find a bit of vibration, a bit of shake in the body.
A bit of rumbling. Letting this be isolated to the feet, to the lower half.
And let's send that shake now into just one place. If we're standing, maybe it's one leg.
Letting that shake kind of search around the body. letting your upper body respond, but letting the emphasis still be on that little jig in one leg. And switch.
Shaking out all that dust or all that tension or all that negativity that all this time maybe brought. Just trying to shake out some of that, whether it be shaking out of the chest or the foot. Let's send it into one arm, one hand. It doesn't have an intense shake, whatever feels good, but just shaking out some of that muck. Maybe still thinking about disturbing that atmosphere around us with that. Like we're trying to waft some smoke or some fog.
You need to take all the busyness from your head and put it into one arm. And now put it into the opposite leg.
Feel that channel of connecting through the chest, through the snake of the spine, connecting this big diagonal. For 3, 2, 1. Let's put it in the other hand now. Kind of repeating that checklist. Disturbing some of that air around our body, or wafting some of that aroma or that smoke. And feel that channel that hand or that arm, and send it through the chest and through that snake of spine. And let's find a bit of opposition.
And use both sides, examining how they can reach apart from each other, but they can also come closer, more distal and proximal to the body.
For 3, 2, 1. Let's go back to that first half, still having the diagonal, and maybe the shape diminishes, and now it's more like what Anna was talking about, playing with proximal and distal relationships of our limbs to our body. Proximal being very close to our chest and our median of our body, and distal being expansive, trying to send those parts out in a way. Let's see if we can find a sense of fluidity. Still thinking about those channels that connect. My arm doesn't stop at shoulder. It moves through clavicle, through the cave of my heart, through my solar plexus, and down into that leg. These big ropes or connective pathways. Instead of dropping it and switching to the other side, let's find a nice kind of slide or glide or shift. And let's continue to investigate this proximal and distal connectivity.
Noticing how that spine really is the nexus point of all these limbs, all these things that are communicating to each other. So try not to stiffen in the spine as you do this. It might be a reflex when it comes to balancing, really trying to prime yourself to still keep that spine fluid, because it'll allow your body to make little micro adjustments in balance.
Let's shift again back to that first side. A nice little trick Anna and I learned when we were training as corporeal mimes from a tightrope walker is if we feel like we're losing that balance, can just drop more onto that leg, onto that support. Rather than trying to achieve the balance and put the balance on the leg, that same connectivity we're talking about from these arms and leg that are out in space, let's find that through the spine and the supporting leg too. Let's move through this proximal and distal relationship.
You can now transition on your own accord with this, moving between either leg balancing and arms gesturing together. On top of this, considering the head and neck as a fifth limb. How can it gesture with the same kind of articulation as your arms or your hands? Maybe even just like reining it in a second and really just considering the gestural capacity of this fifth limb. Bringing in sight.
Head and neck as fifth limb. Bringing in those other senses, the ocular, also the auditory. What do you hear inside of your body? What are those subtle voices, those subtle songs and musics inside your body that you can hear? And in the space that you're in, maybe the creak of a floor or the sound of the outside.
Starting to become a little bit more in tune with these sensations. of sight, of sound.
Perhaps that intake of sound and sight can influence your movement choices. What if we were trying to sing a song with our movement, or inscribe a rhythm with our movement? Let's open up our smell sense too. The smell of the air around you, the smell of your garment and your form and your body, and also the taste. Let's taste the air around us. Let's invite, with all of this beautiful sensorial intake, let's pick up Anna's groove a bit and just have a good time. I hope you can hear the track that's playing, but this is a fun groovy track Anna and I made, and let's just have a good time with it.
Just inviting a little bounce into the body. Like we have a little bouncy ball in our pelvis, and we're just kind of dribbling it.
And your groove can be whatever it needs to be. Your dribble, your bounce, it can be really drastic. Maybe you're really raging out in your room to this. Maybe you're keeping it subtle, like when you're on the bus or at the store and you have a bit of a groove, but you don't want to be too aware. Let the groove be what it needs to be for you today. You can isolate the groove into one hand or one movement or one motif and repeat it.
With
Or
this groove, considering the extensions of it, like Taylor was just saying. So extending it past into the armor, extending it like you have a tail coming out of your coccyx. Thinking about these kind of tendrils shooting out of our body in this groove.
And use this groove to locomote yourself through space. Maybe you can move from your bedroom into the bathroom with the groove and back out, or you can pass through the kitchen and step over the cat, or fall down on the couch and reignite through groove. Let's groove for just a little bit longer as this track reads out.
Still allowing for this groove to be a little mild, like at about 30%. You're feeling a nice warm heat inside your body, but you're not pushing so hard that you lose track of your sensations. We're gonna ride this kind of moderate groove for a while, because I find that it often allows for me to deepen sensation. As opposed to like pushing to the brink, I can ride this moderate groove and place emphasis in different places of my body, or different places I want to achieve sensation, such as my middle spine, or even my ankles. Have fun playing with that emphasis with the groove.
Keeping the groove moving. Keeping the groove
And don't worry about looking silly. There really is no such thing. Like, we're all by ourselves in our rooms. So really allow for that container to allow for you to try experimentation in a different way that you might in a class atmosphere. As much as we try not to, we all feel that pressure.
And let's let the groove grow a bit. We were at something like 30. Let's go to 50. Just whatever halfway, whatever space you're in. It may not look that different from 30, but it's about being in tune with the nuance of your movement and your emergence. How do we emerge? How does the groove emerge from within? Sometimes I think about motors. A lot of people have talked about many different things. Maybe it's a pool of color in the pelvis that comes out. But how does the groove emerge from our form? Let's move to 60%. This might mean taking up more space. This might mean that you're a bit more jammy with it. You care a little bit less about it.
And riding this 60 for a while, if you start to lose track of your breath, still holding the 60, but putting all the emphasis on intaking air and exhaling. Just a little longer.
Keep the groove moving.
As the song fades, keep the groove inside of your body. Maybe wind it back a little. narrowing the container. We're gonna expand it again in a moment. Narrowing the container, maybe in between your belly button and your spine. Just putting all the emphasis on the groove there.
Staying tethered to that groove, even in the more subtle relationship to it. Staying tethered to the motor, to where it's emerging from, to the pull. Maybe your groove is being fed by this energetic waterfall inside, or by this beehive inside. Whatever images, whatever your motor, your groove source looks like inside. Really let that wash over your body, your image that you see.
And let's shift the groove now to like behind the shoulder blades. Putting all of our 60% emphasis in that place.
Feeling the flesh on the back of the body. That's what this brought attention to me from. Also sensing the clavicle, sensing the cave of the heart. Yeah, let's really like carve through the space with this chest groove.
Putting all the emphasis now on the casting of your hands and wrists.
Almost like we're wafting or casting a spell, or we're articulating a recipe or a landscape that we know with our groovy hands, groovy arms.
Now placing it in the hips. Maybe it's in the tail. Maybe it's in the slippery acetabulums.
That pelvic groove, that drive. I like to imagine that I have a really long tail that I can wiggle around, that has some weight to it. Or that my legs are like two long tails or wings. Let's find the groove in the pelvis still. Have a bit of fun with it.
Letting your torso now move around, decentralizing your torso with the hips. Trying not to have a vertical spine for a moment, just really like seeing how you can move it around with the pelvis and starting to incorporate the kind of width of the legs.
Now let the groove just live all over our body as this sound cycle reaches its last few movements. Just letting the groove be what it needs to be for you.
Taking that 60 now up to 70.
70. We're gonna grow a little quicker now. 75. 80.
Letting your face groove. What's your face doing?
And for the last bit of this song, 100 with the groove.
Trying to lose track of your sight for a moment in this group.
Let it be 100.
Switching your focus rapidly through the space. Writing out this 100.
Volume down on 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Letting our groove settle at idle, letting this engine still run. And let's, wherever we are, send two arms up. Feeling like two vertical roads. Still dropping that weight of pelvis, but also soft and gentle reach of arms and head up.
If you want, you can softly open the front of the pelvis and the spine. And then cut the cords. starting to draw everything back to the center, letting the skin drape off the bone, letting the muscles soften, breathing into the backs of the lungs. As you fold over the legs, you can bend the knees if you need, but really thinking about the skin draping off the bone.
Really taking that image of drape into your mind, like hanging a blanket or rug over a bar, or like a Dali painting. The sense of drape.
And now, if you haven't already, softening the knees so the torso can actually drape on the thighs. The torso can drape on the thighs, and the ribs can spread, and the shoulders can be worn as earrings. Softening now into a little squat, feeling water pouring out of your tail and out of your head simultaneously, out of your fingertips and out of your heels.
Like a dual-sided waterfall, pouring out of the tail, pouring out of the skull.
Softening the jaw, the throat, the asshole. Softening behind the eyes and in between the ears. Softening into a deep exhale and a deep, long inhale. Starting to let points collapse on the ground. Maybe starting to bear more weight into the hips, into the arms. In these collapsing points, continuing to think about the skin draping off the body, like we're just one giant scaffolding with skin fabric attached to it. Shifting.
Let's play with this sense of drape and shift, creating new posturings, new monuments with our body, new landscapes, new crystallized forms, a drape and a shift. Maybe that release of weight in that drape is what eventually causes the shift. Continue to shift our form through draping and crystallizing.
Keeping the eyes open but soft focus. We're closing the eyes and retreating into sensation.
Finding new bony landmarks to peel off the floor, place down, new skin patches to bear weight onto. Like you're a sculptor of your own posture that you're drafting and remolding. That scaffolding that you talked about, being disassembled and reassembled. Enjoying moments that feel nice and indulging in them for a bit longer.
Indulging in the feeling of also being able to drag these body parts on the ground. Eventually, we're going to meet up on our backs together. Finding your way there. Taking your time. As you find your way on your back, still acknowledging the skeletal architecture or scaffolding and how it's softly just kind of hovering on top of the floor. We're never actually touching. We're always hovering. Can you feel that skeleton encased in the soft tissues of your body? And feeling the skin kind of melting off of it again. Perhaps imagining the imprint your body will leave if you were to stand up and walk away. Big inhale, big exhale. We're just going to float one leg off the ground. Just feeling that same sensation of the scaffolding, but now with a really curious ankle and foot, with a really curious rotation. softening deep cavities in the hips. And we're just going to float the opposite arm. Just explore that distal and proximal space again now, but in a different gravity distribution. You can let the head and neck float off the ground as well for an added challenge. And playing with kind of how far you let the torso float up and down off the ground. Feeling the working, the spreading in the belly button. Even higher now, if you can. Even higher now. Even higher. Can you touch your toes? Can you touch the ceiling? And then softening down. Taking a couple of breaths. Remembering the skeleton again. Remembering the imprint. And just starting to slowly feel how the opposite leg could float before it does. Letting it float, letting the ankle be curious, letting the toes be curious. Really indulging in this, like, kind of memory song. This almost like melodramatic diva moment. As if you could sing this song through your foot, through your arms.
Letting the music of the song or the memory of this song or the introduction of this song be something that you're filtering through this movement motif. A little bit higher now, trying to close the space between that foot and hand a bit more each time. Perhaps a sense of effort or rigor enters the abdominal systems, the transverse abdominis.
And quickly reaching to the sky, and cutting the string. Letting a couple notes pass. A couple of breaths. And you're just gonna tell this story now through your chest. Your arms will move, of course, but your torso will tell most of the song. And using this to kind of float up and down from the ground. Telling the story through the fifth limb.
Seeing the spine as a serpent in this place. Moving through the inside of your body. Letting the arms and the head be like an echo to a deeper, more spinal or guttural place here.
If you want, you can include the legs now as well for an added challenge. But putting a lot of emphasis on the torso and the serpentine spine living inside that's singing the song.
Perhaps you want to take it onto one side, or you want to modify the form and create those monuments again. Let's see if we can use this connectivity of our serpent spine and our abdominal systems and our limbs to build back up through space.
Trying not to take any gesture for granted. Any moment of tactility.
Even in subtlety, we can enjoy the richness of these filters and these images. Feeling aesthetic or any type of way, however you're processing and you're filtering, you might be changing the images, you're building off of them. Let that happen. Let yourself run away a bit with these facilitations that we're giving.
Just as we lowered the ceiling, allowing for the ceiling to raise above you, it's a Sistine Chapel ceiling. You're sending your song out and letting it bounce on the rafters and come back to you. And then you're singing on top of that reverberance.
Being carried away through this piano riff and cascade, shattering that ceiling so you can take up the space you like. Allowing for moments of this kind of like epicness, and then these moments of defeat, of collapse, of weakness in the body. Weakness in the chest. And then walking away, freezing in this last moment, and watching it disappear slowly, watching the image fade. Like you're in a car that's moving away, this image is getting further and further out of your sight, further and further away. You're not weakening, you're not diminishing, you're just getting further away. How does that change your form? You almost can't see the image anymore, it's like a tiny speck, a tiny dot. All of a sudden the air is filled with smoke or fog, and it's passed between you and the image. And maybe sometimes you can wipe it away and you can see it clearly, but it slowly starts to disappear again. This might allow for moments of durational crystallization or pause or idle, and moments of swifter or staccato or zoom away. Let's play with that a bit, that spectrum of space hold or crystallization, and how we emerge through a swift change or a very intentional change to a new crystallized form inside of that smoke, that fog that Anna talked about. Allowing for that space holder crystallization to also bleed into this kind of misty, almost slow motion quality. Playing with your posturing, your carriage, and maybe there's these little glitches that allow you to shift, or maybe it's like a smooth type of shift. Maybe that idea of drape comes back into these crystal forms.
Maybe even exploring memory forms, classical forms. But distorted through the lens of this fog. Maybe those forms for you are different. Those memory forms might be different experiences than ours, allowing for those to enter.
As we start to move into the latter portions of our time together, really feel that you can explore these filters or these images that Anna and I are passing out, that you can reframe them or let them become like a costume or a paint color on your palette that you can now play with. We've talked about crystallization, we talked about groove, we had the light shining on us. We have these moments of glitch or drastic shift. Just letting everything now kind of be at your fingertips for this lab that you're in.
Also playing with maybe freezing one point and allowing another point to initiate, but allowing for that point to hang in the air. Like the image is fragmenting. Some of it remains and some of it disappears or transforms or deteriorates or distorts for just a little longer.
Letting these images get warped and then distilled back to clarity.
Anything that you've ever experienced into this final dance.
If you're in practice with another, maybe you share eyes from a distance, of course. Or maybe you keep it internal. If you're working alone, continue to listen to what Anne and I called subtle viewing, those impulses inside, those things that dancers and movers work with. The invisible forces that we try to make visible as dancers and artists.
Maybe bringing back one final groove. More laid back than the last one, a little softer into form. So just how we cut through the air, playing more with those articulations to show the music in your body.
last sound cycle comes in, continue to let your practice wash over you.
Let's just find a little step touch together. Maybe you can close your eyes. Maybe it's a sway.
Anna and I are here together in the step touch, but whoever's out there doing a step touch or a subtle sway or a little bob of the head, we sense you, we feel you. And wherever you are, show your teeth in a smile maybe, or a little animal smile.
Through all this, even when I'm not feeling it, I've been trying to just spread my teeth in hopes that it will release some endorphins in my body. Let's bring back our little tap dance. Just getting our blood up one more time. Little tap, little hot feet, little hot feet. Little hot feet. For 5. For 4. Little petit allegro. For 3. For 2. For 1, back to our step touch. Feeling like the lower pendulum of our body has become more weighted. Now we're not step touching, maybe we're just finding a little figure 8 through the hips.
We want to thank all you out there that are hanging with us on this live stream. Sending you all much energy during this time.
Feel the joy that you spread in your body, the light that you've allowed inside, the cobwebs that you've released, the stale air that you've let go. Let's bring that figure 8 into our rib cage.
Carry whatever intentions that are serving you through the rest of your day and maybe into tomorrow. We are warmed by your presence in this virtual land.
And we're going to come closer to thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you missed it or came in late, we're doing another session on Sunday at 6, the 29th. There's so many resources for you to gain access to for movement and meditation right now. So many ways that we can be together online, and we appreciate you if you can drop us a couple bucks in the VENMO at slowdanger, paypal.me/slowdanger, and then tax deductible via the link in my bio. Keep moving, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you all again, and we'll keep thinking of you all. Come join us again on the 29th for our final virtual class. For now, cheers.